what is the first cause of the universe? A question that has led people throughout time to eventually find God, to worship, and to follow his religion. But is this question applicable anymore in the modern days? Let's explore. Good day, everyone. People who believe in God believe that God has created the universe. This means that at one point there was God and there was no universe, and hence this universe that we live in was created. By the way, this does not mean that this is the first creation that God made. There is no assertion that God did not create a different universe before he created this universe of ours, and there is no assertion, of course, that there are no other universes altogether. Actually, the belief of people who believe in God includes belief that there are other universes that God has told us about that we call the heavens. In the Islamic tradition, for example, there are 7 heavens, and those heavens are like different universes. We cannot access them, but God tells us that they exist, and he tells us that after the end of this universe, we will go to another universe that has different properties and different laws of physics, where life does not decay, and where we will have an eternal nature. But what about this one universe that we live in? When people in the ancient times looked at this universe, it was not a proposition on the table whether this universe needed a creator to create it or not. The idea of the universe needing a cause was very intuitive, because obviously universes do not create themselves. When we looked into the sky and we started observing the universe, ideas were put on the table that maybe the universe is eternal, maybe the universe is all what there is, and then with the advent of evolution and modern synthesis, ideas that were pointing that maybe the laws of nature alone would be enough to create all what we know in terms of life, in terms of our own existence, and in terms of our own consciousness and free will. But then when we looked deeper, we noticed that this universe is expanding, and we did our calculations, and we knew that this exponential acceleration today means that it is coming from a much smaller universe that is eventually going to a singularity back in time. Calculations show that this singularity is 13.8 billion years ago. Now, regardless, if you as a believer believe in these numbers or not, it is irrelevant. Let us judge the theories that we have today on the table according to the theories and see where they are going to take us. Also, the same theories, including general relativity, are predicting the existence of things like black holes, and some observations are pointing that very massive gravitational objects are available or exist in the center of galaxies, and they are pulling galaxies and stars together. So, recent work by Penrose and Hawking on geodesics suggests that in a singularity, space-time geodesic lines will be converging to the extent that at the singularity, time is terminal. If we look at the biggest singularity of them all, the Big Bang, and we extrapolate backwards all space and time that we have, it means that when we reach back to the instant of the Big Bang, this is where time has started, and since the geodesics of space and time meet there, it means that time there stops. This is a pretty recent conclusion, that before the Big Bang there was no before. There was not only no space, but there was also no time at all. So now you sit and think with yourself, if you rewind the universe back to a point where there is no more time to even go back. And then you think, how does the universe happen to exist? For something to happen, it means that something changes. So at this instant, t naught, there is this thing. At t naught plus 1, there is that other thing. So change, by definition, needs time so that the change would occur. So if you drive back into time until there is no more time to go back, then the question is, if there is no time for an event to happen and no space for this event to happen in, how did the universe happen? It means that the question of the first cause becomes a mandatory question. And since there is a universe that has already happened, it means that whoever or whatever has caused the universe to occur can operate outside time and space. Otherwise, he or it cannot cause any event to happen. Now, we are left with the possibility of he caused it, a personal God, or it caused it. But since we are talking already about the universe, which is everything that we know about, then any it, anything, as far as our definition of what a thing is, would need space and time to occur. And since we have rolled back to a point where there is no more space and no more time, it makes no sense to consider that something has caused the universe to occur. And even if there is a something that caused the universe to occur, we do not have reasonable cause to believe that this something exists. Because if you are going to believe in that something based on faith altogether, then why not look at this universe, look at the way it is operating, look at its very obvious apparent design, and conclude from that that there is an element of intent. Hence, the one who has caused this universe to occur is a being who intended to make it occur. It's a personal God. Now then, there would be a question of, if this personal God has caused this universe to occur, what caused him to occur? And this will cause an infinite regression. And when there is an infinite regression, you will have to reach a first cause at the end of the day, and parsimony and Occam's razor will mandate that we do not complicate things more than necessary. So the first cause of this universe is the first cause of every other universe and is the absolute first cause. But modern science seems not to like this idea from the philosophical naturalism point of view. It talks about fluctuations that happen in nothing. It redefines our basic concepts of what is space, in what is something, and in what is nothing, and says that quantum fluctuations can occur in vacuum. But may I excuse you to remember that this first point did not even have vacuum for something to fluctuate in, because there was no space. And may I also remind you that for a fluctuation to take place, it means a change, and this implies time. And the first point was a point where there is no time before it and no space in it. So, is there really any reasonable argument to reject that this universe needed a cause, and that this cause is the first cause, and that this first cause is God? Well, somebody will then say, even if I accept a first cause to be God, how do I know that this God even cares, or that he really intended that this universe happens, or that he He actually is aware of our existence, or that we are going back to Him. Why shouldn't I then accept that He created this universe, made the laws of physics, and then He doesn't care, so His existence to me is as good as His non-existence? Well then, the answer is, you should ask this God, who is the first cause, if He cares or He doesn't care. But God has throughout history sent a message after a message. But then the question is, how do you know that this is a message from God? Well, we did make an episode about that, and the answer simply is, this is your quest in this life. If God exists, and if He cares, and if He sent a message, then this message would better be a compelling one, so that when you read it, you know that this message has to be a message from God. He will give you in the message signs that He is the Creator because He is aware of His creation. He will describe your psyche, your feelings, your motivations, and your intentions, and how you feel about yourself better than even you would describe yourself. He will give you signs to the universe that He has created that only He would know about. And He will give you a system that will make the self that He created, which is you, live with the universe that He created in complete harmony, so you can have peace and happiness. So, is there a message on earth to satisfy that this message has to be coming from the first cause of the universe, which is God? This is your quest. And if there are no messages coming, should the message that is still here now be good enough to survive the test of time and the test of science? Yes. What is the last message that is today on the world stage that God has preserved? It is a book called the Quran in a religion called Islam. Did you spend the time yourself to know about it yourself, to find out whether this is the final message from the first cause of the universe, whether it will answer your existential questions? If you haven't, you'd better do. Because guess what? If this is the right message and you don't even do the effort to verify its authenticity, your life is the only chance for you to make this choice. So use the chance that you have and make it count to your benefit. I leave you with this idea. Until we meet again. See you soon.